We're live. Cheers, mate.
Cheers. We're back.
Welcome back, Mr. Jeremy Pratt. This is episode 13 of the BBD podcast, part 2 with my man Jeremy Pratt. We just got this dude's wheels turning on the last one. So if you guys haven't had an opportunity to listen in on episode 12, part 1 with Jeremy Pratt, make sure you guys make time to do so. And you probably should stop watching this now and go back because it sets a tone and it sets a picture. We've painted the early foundational years of Jeremy Pratt's trophy bass fishing journey. It's a wild one. This man has caught more double-digit bass east of the Rockies than anybody I personally know. And I've been fortunate to have been aware of this man and what he was doing back then to some degree, going back to the mid-2000s.
Yeah.
So we're going to jump into some of the fun story time telling of some of the highlights.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, offhand, do you know how many double-digit fish you have under your belt?
Round 25.
That's incredible.
Yeah. I can go back and look at them. It was at 25. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Documented.
Yeah.
Weighed.
Yeah.
On a scale.
Not with all picture, or not like on a digital camera. Back then, we literally weighed them, took a picture, released, because we didn't think we were having to prove anything to the online community. Because remember, this is back 2006.
This predates a lot
This
of it.
predates social media. We
got to the interesting part.
yeah.
Right?
So
you had
we
a couple of engagements.
we
with
got the
big
build
fish.
up. There we go. Edit this part out. So episode 1, build up. That was that. So go back and watch the build up. So now episode 2, we're gonna focus on the cashing in, the fun part, where all the hard work came in. Then we actually got to capitalize on it, which, the build up part was a lot of trial and error. It was a lot of daydreaming. How is this gonna work? Getting the right equipment. Will this actually work? It wasn't proven. And then finally we got that validation at the end of episode 1 we talked about, and we got we landed that first big bite with the right equipment. Brock Lackey and myself were just screaming, and screaming our brains out. We were just like, nobody's doing this, and we finally put it together. And I mean, we had been down in Florida just daydreaming about this type of stuff for a long time. So I think we talked about it was like 3 or 4 years in the making when I knew swim baits would work, and when I finally started putting it together and capitalizing. So this is the capitalizing episode. Last episode is the build up. So Jocassee remained tough, even though these fish had never seen a Huddleston, never seen that type of bait. We did capitalize a good bit, but it was when we went to a different lake, a little west of Jocassee.
Okay.
Yeah, that's when it got
Nutty.
That's when it got crazy. Am I dropping lake names?
Man, that's on you. I personally don't like doing it.
Yeah. Well, so there's another lake we went west of. So once we discovered that it was working, we wanted to just look at all the other potential lakes around the area, and we found one in particular. And there's a trout hatchery, stocking trout, just like Jocassee was. Shallower, there's docks, and let's see. So we were at 2005 at the last episode. We did get there. 2005, 2006 was when we really started doing it. We were throwing the RO5 kind of just in creeks, and we weren't really thinking about docks yet, which seems really dumb at the time. But until you do it, you don't know how they're gonna bite it. Jocassee, they were biting off points or laydowns, and when we went to this other lake, we weren't sure exactly. So 2006 we caught some 9s, but remember, I'm living 8 hours away in Florida, so we would only have about 4 days of camping, spring break, fall break. And so we would go up, and we just had a little time to put it together. We had the HUD, RO5 fish, 8s and 9s, some good ones, but it was never a giant limit. That's going to bring us to 2007 spring break, where it broke wide open. Brock Lackey and I, we drove up from spring break, 8 hours, got our campsite, and this is a day that, this is definitely worth talking about. We took the Triton out, far out into the lake. It was our first day out.
Oh, this is the same Triton that you had trees growing out of.
Yeah, so by the time you see this, probably you're gonna see a before and after video of this legendary boat.
Yeah, we gotta backtrack just a little bit, because part of the reason why Jeremy is back in this region is to come fetch his dream machine.
Yeah, fetching it is a good word.
Yeah, he had incredible experiences, pretty much all out of the Triton.
Yeah, absolutely, out of the same boat.
Wait till you guys see the before and the after of the current condition of this poor boat.
Yeah, it was mistreated. It was abused.
It was garage kept.
Yeah, it was.
Right, and when you came back to it, it was out in a farm next to cows.
Yep.
Could be classified as a wetlands according to your
biology
friends.
I talked to a biologist, and he said the type of moss that was growing on it, legit moss, and it could be classified as a wetland. This boat looks like it was found on the bottom of the ocean and brought up onto land. And when you see the after, you won't believe that.
So make sure you guys subscribe to his YouTube channel.
Yeah, that episode.
Because that's something that was mind-boggling to me. When you brought it through the car wash, I was like, oh my gosh, it's a whole different boat.
Yeah, I mean...
Before that, it looked like the Swamp Thing.
The Swamp Thing. Yeah, exactly.
I'm telling you, man. So, anyways, back to the Triton.
And we're going to be guiding out of this thing. So, and this thing has so many stories about it. So, yeah.
It's got that vibe, man. The energy is a real thing.
Sentimental, endearing, all those things. So, the one time that I've ever left the plug out of a boat, and I mean, most people have that story where they've done it maybe multiple times, but literally, I've done it one time, and it was this day. We drove pretty far out, first day from Florida. We're just trying to get in sync. We don't know what we're doing. It's mid-March, early March. And anyway, we start fishing, and we're ankle deep in water. So there's a whole panic attack. We're not sure if we're going to sink. I can't get on plane. We're panic bailing while I'm like going like this. Whole bunch of adrenaline stress. Get back to the boat ramp after a long ordeal. And we get a new plug, but we're super stressed, and we're like considering leaving, because we just drove 8 hours from Florida. We're considering going to Jocassee or somewhere else, and I don't know, we just had a bad taste in our mouth. But I was like, let's just launch the boat and just fish a couple spots nearby. Maybe the fish are alive. First dock we go to, first cast. It was like a 9-7. And I mean, obviously that starts your momentum. You realize, first of all, it was on a dock, ROF 12. And, obviously when you get a bite like that, to duplicate it. So there's a bunch of other docks. So next dock, an 8-pounder chokes it on a short cast. Just reeling. I mean, I literally did a flip with the Huddleston, and she ate it on a short cast by a dock. 2 docks later, I get a 10.5-pounder. This one was an incredible bite. I don't think I've ever had one like it. We were trolling, and I threw a side cast down a dock.
What do you call that?
I call it a sidle. Yeah, a sidle.
You guys are going to learn some Jerryisms today.
Jerryisms, lingo. So we got a sidle cast down the side. If you do a cast down the front, that's a frontal. There's a backle when a dock sticks out. The backle's a real funny one. And then there's insidles. I mean, Oliver caught onto it quick.
I got pontoonals today.
Pontoonals. There's jet skis. The jet ski. There's the inside sidles. The bluels, if it's a blue little jet ski.
Oh yeah.
Today we had a
floating swim mattles.
Yep, the floating swim mat with geese stuff on it. But today we had one that was a decoy. They were decoy ducks that were floating, and they're providing cover, and we threw a big bait through some decoy.
We sure did.
So sidles, frontals. So I'm throwing a sidle on this cast, and we're like pumped up. I mean, every cast we're getting big ones, but like I was like, oh, I didn't get one on that cast, and Brock is on the trolling motor, and he's going to the next. I mean, we're probably moving 2 miles an hour, so I'm like, so I'm just kind of reeling it in, just feeling the thump of the tail. And I'm literally at this point watching my bait, and the Huddleston's swimming in quick, and this is deep under the water, RF12, and out of nowhere this 10.5-pound bass comes at it at such a speed that she chokes it and goes about 4 feet past where the bait just was.
All that momentum.
All the momentum. I still have not gotten a bite like that since then.
Wild.
And I mean, and then I just go like this, and I'm just sitting there fighting this. I'm like literally out of my like mind, you know. I'm thinking Twilight Zone. I mean,
You watched that happen.
I just watched the whole thing. I'm just like sitting here, like I'm basically trolling it in, trying to get it in, because do another cast, and this fish just, I mean, 4 feet past where it was.
I thought you can only slow roll heads and turn the handle as slow as you could. I thought that was the only way.
Yeah, no, see, Oliver knows. There's so many different ways you can fish baits. Don't get one-minded. But this was unintentional. This fish.
A lot of stuff is discovered unintentionally.
Exactly, that's a good point. I mean, I would have never known. So I'm sitting there pulling it so fast. You could feel the vibration, you know, and that fish just was angry and saw that trout, and they're a pre-spawn fish, and 10.5 pounder. So at this point, we've got a 9.5, an 8, and a 10.5. Brock hasn't caught one yet. So we're sitting here weighing my fish, taking pictures, and
he must be losing his poor mind.
Well, you know, he's just sitting there. So he's sitting down, and so we're at this dock. We've drifted up into this dock, and we're just, you know, whatever, pictures. He picks up his HUD, does a frontal down the very next dock. He's reeling in and just gets hammered, and he gets his first fish was a 7.5 pounder.
Sick.
And then the very next cast he gets a 9.5, and this one was nuts because he was reeling it, got close to the boat, almost like a muskie situation, and he dropped it. He let the RF-12 go down, and then just she hammered it, caught it right under the boat.
Wow.
That series of events, you know, burned into my memory. Just the first 4 or 5 docks. Just.
So how many fish did you end up catching that day?
So we had 15 combined Huddleston fish. But so our best 5 individually were like 45 and 44 pounds. After drowning the boat, after driving 8 hours.
Pretty much almost losing yourself mentally.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And calling it quits.
Yeah, we were kind of.
I've been in similar situations, man. It's tough.
Yeah.
You get in this mindset, everything's going against you. You know, especially traveling that far. Like you burn out mentally.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
Kudos to you guys for recovering from that. That's not easy to do.
No, we kind of, and we didn't have 100% confidence. Before the boat flooded, we had fished a few docks with no success on the other side of the lake. And we were kind of like, you know, not that confident. So that was a day that I'm grateful for, because good grief was that exciting. And that set the tone. That really set the tone to start hammering big limits. That was my first 45-pound limit.
I mean, you guys had 89 pounds of bass for 10 fish.
So it's like an 8.9 pound average for 10 fish.
That's insane. And mind you, I believe these are northern strain largemouth.
We think so. Right? Yeah, we think so. I mean, I don't think they've stocked Florida strain. And you know, the biggest we've got out of there is 13.6. And
which, I mean, gosh, if they're northerns, those are megas.
That's the mass for a northern, yeah.
I mean,
14.
These are megas.
Yeah. So if they stocked Florida strain in some of these lakes, and I think they did at Chickamauga, am I getting that pronunciation? But yeah, so, and I think that's why they got so big. And we just heard from Paul today that they're going to stock some other lakes with Florida strain. I think these were northerns. So an 8.9 pound average, or 8.1. So, but that's what cracked everything wide open. So this episode's talking about cashing in. And so it's a funny story, you know, like you said, the plug, wanting to give up, and then cracking, you know, 89 pounds between me
having
and
the best day of your life.
Having the best day of our life. I mean, we were just blown away. I mean, we had to take a break midday, and we cracked a beer. We cracked a beer and had lunch, and we were just like, what? And we were the only boat on the lake. It was a beautiful sunny day, probably 70 degrees in the mountains in the spring. You know, one of the best days of my life still. Wow. Fishing days. I mean,
fishing is a beautiful thing, man.
It is. It is magical when something like that happens. But I've had bigger limits since then. Well, and that's what's funny is that when you crack something open, you get greedy, or at least I get greedy. But it was a time to just really appreciate and be grateful for.
Especially looking back.
In
hindsight.
Absolutely.
We never really appreciate what we got to experience until it's gone.
Until it's gone, absolutely.
Until it's gone. So we'll get back to some stories right now, but I want to learn more about what created this Jeremy Pratt, the frontal, sidal, insidal, diagonal casting machine? Like, who were your early influencers that created your style of fishing?
Yeah.
Because like myself, I took little bits and pieces from
Yeah,
guys
absolutely.
that I watched or saw and incorporated into my own game. Kind of like basketball.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Like we all try to
Little
take
influence.
little pieces of someone's game and add it to our own.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you've got your own game.
Yeah, absolutely. You've created your own game. Yeah.
Any guys that kind of like just stand out to you, whether they're local heroes or national pros or celebrities like Roland Martin?
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Right?
No, for sure. I mean, I read a lot of Bassmaster way back in the day. I read Roland Martin's book.
Oh, tell me about that, because I was telling Jeremy about about my experience fishing with the man, the myth, the legend, Roland Martin, who is 100% legit, by the way, as far as his passion for the game.
Oh,
this 80-year-old man was putting the wood to these fish. So,
unreal,
bro. To watch that firsthand was such a treat for me. And I wouldn't even say that Roland was a huge influence on me as far as my style,
right?
But he was a prominent figure in the game, in the culture, as I was coming up.
Yeah.
I mean, he was one of the guys on TV doing it, catching big ones.
Yep. And so that book, which I doubt very many people have read.
I haven't.
It's thick and it's full of stories from Roland Martin, the early days. And so
you're a Florida boy.
Yeah, I'm from Florida, so I was more, Roland Martin was more well known to me. But that book, I think, the stories that he told of early days, and I think that's what intrigued me, is pioneering something that, before it's been done a million times over. And Roland Martin had these stories, of stuff, the early tournament days when you had giant limits on different stuff. He was rivals with Bill Dance, and, it's really good stuff. And I mean, there was one funny story where he talked about sending out a cameraman to different spots who was terrible at fishing. Absolutely awful. And, if Roland Martin sees this, he'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But he sent this cameraman out to different spots in Okeechobee. And if he even got a bite, this guy was so bad at fishing, if he even got a bite, Roland Martin would go there the next day.
Because that meant it was wide open.
That meant it was wide open. This guy could not fish. And so he would just send this guy out. But early influences, the dock fishing kind of just came naturally as far as seeing the way it's set up, the way these docks were built. It's like obvious that you just need to bomb it past the point where you want to bring it down, if you could.
Yeah.
But early on, I grew up red fishing in Florida with ultralights with my dad at the Intercoastal. And that, if you're going to get addicted to fishing, I mean, redfish, the way they pull, everybody knows, it's pretty incredible.
I janked on a few, they're cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's so fun. I mean, you catch 60, 100 fish a day on their strip and drag, and a lot of you guys know that. And that was early on, but then I was fascinated with bass being more difficult. I'm from Jacksonville, Florida, brackish water, and bass were just a challenge.
So who are you going to for information?
Bassmaster magazine.
So pretty much anybody that contributed to that magazine, that was kind of your encyclopedia.
Yeah, when I'm 13, 14, 15, that was my I didn't have an influence. And then when the swim bait, like we talked about in the earlier episode, when the swim bait thing started, I went to Cal Fishing and just shared information there about swim baits. But as far as where I was getting information, I'm 35. Back then, at that age, it was Bassmaster magazine and calfishing.com.
Wow,
cool. Yeah, I don't think I could name another influence. And the style of fishing the docks, I hadn't seen it before, so it was kind of I taught myself. Yeah, it's something you develop. You just kind of naturally.
I asked that question because I observe an analytical approach to fishing in similar fashion to the way I approach fishing.
Yeah.
Like when we're fishing out of your red sleigh in your canoe, no electronics, a lot of open water. You incorporate the process of elimination much in the same capacity that I do.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a scientific approach, right? You're asking questions, you're validating or debunking hypothesis as
Yeah.
you go.
Yep. Eliminating.
And
Yep.
you're putting together this puzzle.
Absolutely.
So I picked that up from guys like Al Lindner and that entire In Fisherman
Oh,
squad.
and Fisherman, you know? So that was your influence.
Oh, that was a huge influence. I had multiple influences.
Yeah. So part 3, I want to hear more about this.
Oh, okay.
So
So
I'm going to interview him.
he's gonna flip the script on me, guys.
Yeah.
So make sure you definitely subscribe to his channel because it will live there only.
Okay.
But
All
yeah,
right.
he's gonna be asking the questions on that.
I want to know more about Oliver here,
Cool,
but
cool.
yeah. But so the Linder, I'm curious.
Yeah,
Fisherman.
man. So getting to fish with Al a couple years ago was a huge experience for me.
Oh man.
And watching another man that I grew up watching on TV,
Yeah.
jacking big smallies in the back of my boat, and like going into like Al Lindner mode, right?
Yeah.
And just start talking about like how much he loves smallmouth. They're still his
Yeah.
favorite fish. And I'm holding a GoPro. I'm like, this is surreal.
Yeah, no way. That's
And he's not a spring chicken either. And dude, the wind picked up that day on Mille Lacs.
Mille Lacs.
Dude, it got ugly.
Yeah.
And this old man was just on the back deck, surfing those waves, sticking them.
Yeah.
I was
Oh
just like,
man.
that's a bad man.
Yeah, that's a bad
That's
man.
a bad man.
Pure fishing instinct.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
passion.
So yeah, I was just kind of curious to
Yeah.
what kind of facilitated your style of fishing because
Yeah.
there's a lot of attributes and qualities that I get a kick out of watching.
Yeah.
I've had the fortune to spend quite a bit of time with you making casts now.
Yeah. I mean,
It's been
good
fun.
or bad attributes you might be referring to. These long casts, around docks and stuff.
Oh boy.
They can. I mean.
I don't particularly enjoy the setting the hook into my face moments or.
Well, this man 5 or 6 docks in a row.
Today
We're
I
gonna
was
talk about
struggling.
that. That was a
Oh,
struggle.
man.
I mean, dock fishing.
I was on the cable oals. I was on the roof oals. was
You had to get
on
out.
the pontoonals.
You had to get out off the boat on
Oh,
these people's
bro.
dock and just finesse stuff off.
We got up way too early this morning.
No,
That's
it can be ugly. Depending on what bait you're throwing to around docks, it can swerve.
Oh yeah.
So there's always entertainment with dock fishing. The docks, some of these docks have upper decks, and people have. Yeah, go ahead. People have like nice dining table stuff. I've landed a Huddleston on these people's.
On the second story.
Yeah, because you're bombing it. I mean, I'm bombing it, and it's landing on people's furniture. It's like we've had to go on the upper deck. Brock Marshall will know this. They remember this. We've had to go get Huddlestons off their second deck because you're not throwing always just a little low cast. You're bombing a long one down a frontal. So you're casting past it. This might, go right on you. It swerves right. Right, I mean, I knocked some.
Dude,
I clattered
those
some.
baits a hook like hard left, hard right. It's weird. It's like what the hell?
Yeah. So I mean, and if you're throwing expensive glide bait, and that hit, you're risking it all.
Or you gotta risk it for the biscuit.
Yeah. So that adds some entertainment for the dock fishing. But no, that first 9-pounder that I described to you that day, that was the first dock fish that I caught, and it really, I was teaching myself in that moment when you're asking about influence because. I just saw the dock and I was like, it just made sense to cast past it and bring it down.
Because I feel like we live in an age now where people have so many options for information. A lot of guys will mimic someone's
Absolutely.
game down to the T,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I really didn't have like a direct mentor
Yeah.
per se, so I just took little pieces from everybody.
Which is
And
smart.
really, I felt like developed my own style. So like, we played some basketball
Yep.
a few days ago.
And that's a long time coming because I
Oh
banned
man,
a
yeah,
long
you've
time
been
ago.
tagging me and posts on Instagram of you hooping and your
Before we
YMCA.
met, I was like, I want to play him in
I was like,
basketball.
oh, okay, this dude likes to hoop.
You even put something up. Would you rather fish with me or play basketball with me?
I
went
remember
play
this.
basketball.
I remember this. That's
But,
right.
Yeah.
So, that brings me to another question.
Yeah.
Right. So obviously you have other passions.
Yep.
What makes fishing special?
Oof. The
Because basketball's special.
Oh yeah,
Very
I
special
played
to me.
soccer, basketball.
Yeah.
A lot of things are special, but what makes fishing special?
Like, what is it? There's something different about it, right?
Oh, absolutely, and everybody that's listening to this probably knows. And if they don't, there's just something magical about it. There's something about the mystery of what works and what is gonna trick smart bass and other species too. We're not only bass guys, but Yeah, I mean, I think the nostalgia, that comes with fishing at an early age. I mean, my dad took me on, as a 2-year-old, Zebco catching bluegill, and that's something that just sticks with you,
Shout out to your dad, by the way. He's a great man.
Yeah. He's a stud fisherman, but he'll never admit it. But he got me. I mean, I was catching redfish. I was catching bluegill at an early age. And it was Zebco 33. It was just the Zebco and a beetle spin. And
wow.
So I mean, it's kind of an early version of swim bait fishing. So I would throw a Zebco with the beetle spin down a cypress tree in Florida, and then you'd be reeling it in just like a spinnerbait or anything, and boom, you'd feel that bump. And so it was ingrained in me at an early age, those instinct. And then, I got a shout out to my grandfather, who's no longer alive, but this is a side story I'm going to try to make quick, but he made the first, what I would call a chatterbait in the 40s in Florida, catching double digits. There's pictures of it. He called it a tumble bug. Had a little blade in the front, he had a pork rind off the back, and a little skirt. Essentially a chatterbait. And this thing wobbled. And so he would cast, bait caster, and he'd start reeling before it hit the lily pads, and he just messed up those Florida big bass it wasn't only plastic worms in the 40s or 50s.
I would love to see those photos.
Oh my gosh. I'll send it to you, email.
Okay.
Because we have it framed at my house.
That's awesome.
I mean, he's sitting there holding it up like this. It's my dad is just a little kid in the boat, and my dad's born in 49, so this was in the 40s. Or no, I'm sorry, 50s, early 50s, and he's holding up an 11-pounder. It was in the newspaper, and it was and you can see the lure. So
wow.
It's a homemade. It's a lead head. I mean, it's everything like a chatterbait.
That's cool.
So yeah. So if you thought a chatterbait was kind of recent, it's 50s.
That's the fascinating thing about fishing, right? You go back far enough.
Yeah.
There have been plenty of people that are just as sick in the head as we are, if not worse.
Yeah.
That didn't have a choice but to be innovators.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. It's crazy. I mean, I looked through some of my old fishing books that I pick up on the travels here. One was published like in 1980 or 81, and I go to this beautiful spread of lures.
Yeah.
Right, and you see like an original floating Rapala is like it's like the mega bass.
yeah.
Right?
My dad fished that.
And then you'll see up in the corner a mushroom head jig.
Oh.
With a little plastic worm. Nothing new.
Yeah, it's not.
It's cool to look back and see what was going on in people's minds, all in the sake of trying to fool these fish.
Absolutely.
That's cool.
And that's what makes fishing special, as your original question, I feel like, I mean, people before us were actually more creative than we give them credit for. We think now everybody was dumb back in the day. No, they
much more limited resources.
Exactly. Oh, yeah.
Right.
And electronics and stuff. But
I'm just talking about just like
and
raw materials to formulate fake
Yeah.
whatever. To
Artificial baits, yeah.
Yeah, would you say the feeling of that dong on your beetle spin is as riveting as a feeling, if not more, than like me splashing one in your face the other day on my way to win after win?
As riveting. This guy, he likes to slip it in, and he likes to, derail the conversation to the basketball winning. No, so I got to 21 twice.
Hey man, everybody on the West Coast, big shout out to all you hoopers. When we play 21, you got to keep the boys in check, right?
Yeah.
You can't just let some big 6'9" dude come in there and just bully ball you and drop his shoulder on you and get to 21 and win. So when you get to 21 on the West Coast, you got to finish the game with the top of the key three. And if your opponents can score a field goal before you do that,
if you miss,
you go back to 15.
Yeah. And so I did that twice.
He got to 21 twice. Couldn't seal the deal.
Yeah, no, I have to give him props on coming back, but I was up 21-9. And it would have been best out of 3. So I feel like we're 50-50 on that. You do get the W like he wants to claim. I'll let him have it.
I got 2 out of 3.
But it should have been 2 out of 3 for me. But we'll go back and forth for days now.
How'd horse go for you?
I got whipped in horse, and by him.
And that's important because you were touting your abilities from deep. You were.
Shooting is I'm identified as a shooter, but I guess it doesn't mean I'm a shooter. No, I am a 3-point shooter, but I haven't played in a year.
COVID, man.
COVID, it shut down the gyms. I was playing pickup twice a week.
Right. No, but I had a blast hooping with you. As much fun as I've had, fishing with you. Especially
Probably more so since you won.
6 out of 7.
This guy. No, I mean absolutely. 6 out of 7. All right, let's get to the pioneer. So, what makes fishing special to me, though? And I'm gonna go back to that because I want to answer it a little more in depth. I'm talking about basketball over here.
I'm trying to set him up for a rematch.
Yeah,
get him fired up.
We got fishermen listening to this podcast.
I see the same energy when I go up or go on a little streak while we're fishing.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh man, it fires him up.
No, absolutely. Well, because I want to listen to the fish, and if he's getting bit a certain way,
right.
or and when I'm catching fish and the other person isn't, and I see people lose their confidence and they kind of get down. For me, I don't get down, but I say, what can I do to change to start getting bites as well? And so I don't get jealous of you if you get a couple bites. It just makes me want to, if it was on a lure I don't have or own.
Which happened a few times.
That's happened. He has a lot of lures, and some I don't. So
you have a lot of them now.
Yeah, I'm getting more lures. But what makes fishing special, I wanted to say, is for me, what really motivated me was these early days on the swim baits. That's where the obsession came in, because it was pioneering something.
Yeah.
It was doing something that hadn't been done before, or these days it's harder to pioneer something that just hadn't been done, but you can do altercations to it, or you can change it up. But that moment that we've described so far, and those moments where it just hadn't been done, these fish were completely ignorant to these baits, and that was just, it invigorated my fishing. It kind of, and even it hit such a peak that I kind of, after I had really cashed in, I kind of got out of fishing for a little bit, because it was such a high peak. And
that's hard to maintain.
Yeah, you can't maintain.
I can
maybe
relate.
You can. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was tough, man. I went on a pretty wild run a couple times. And there were a couple times I just checked out.
Yeah.
We've been talking about being jaded.
Yeah.
Right? And you're
after you've been on that high.
Right, and you're talking about dismissing 6-pounders, 7-pounders, 8-pounders, even 9-pounders to a degree, and I've done it all the way up to a moment.
11s, right?
I bounced an 11.4 one time and stared at it in disgust because it wasn't.
That's astonishing.
Because it wasn't a 15.
Yeah, because you're looking for that. 15.
And I had caught so many 10s and 11s in this period. I'm like, what do I have to do
to get that 15?
I am on this lake every day, busting my ass from dark to dark.
Yeah.
And it was crazy. I mentally checked out, and I went readier fishing back at Puddingstone for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I was done.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I'm over it.
Yeah. I mean, burnout can happen,
It's a
and
real
then
thing.
especially when you feel like you've hit
because you've had
ceiling.
these wild highs.
Yeah.
The highest of highs.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine what some of these celebrities that just can do whatever they want in life and have
it's a good
lived,
parallel.
These peak experiences again and again. No wonder they fall into trouble, right? Because they're chasing that all the time.
Absolutely, that's a really good, insightful point. Because I felt like that after this.
For
peak.
Sure.
I mean, 45-pound limits, 49-pound limit, and then it's oh no.
So how many over 40 did you have?
I'd have to go back. I know. I had the 49-pound limit, which I think we should do story time on that one.
Okay,
and
talk about that one next.
Yeah, we'll talk about that, and then a myriad of 45s and 40-pound limits. I probably could count the over 40 on 2 hands.
Damn.
Yeah.
I can too, but mine stops with 1 finger.
Okay.
I've done it 6 times.
Over 40?
Yeah.
So what I had over you was the ignorant fish, and there's numbers of them. And so this is a lake in an area, and a lot of the people watching are probably going to be like, dang it, I was living in the backyard of this. But I had it to myself. And so I had numbers of 8-pounders, you know, where you didn't have in SoCal. So that's why I think it's about 10 over 40.
That's incredible.
I mean, but these fish, like I said, they were ignorant. But yeah, they were SoCal. That's harder to do. But yeah, no. So at that time, these people just So the people on this lake are fishing spoons, drop shots.
Because a lot of them are spotted bass lakes.
Yeah, there's some spotted bass.
Right?
Yeah, they're
So
crankbaits. I mean, they're doing stuff.
it's the standard fare.
Yeah, standard fare, normal conventional tackle, and we were landing 8 to 10 pounders, and there'd be a bass boat go by, and we're just literally just holding that fish under the console, and just acting like nothing's happening, and because we're just thinking to ourselves like, what we have here is beyond special.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I've had to try to tell Riley sometimes, like, hey,
I still have my fist down.
if and when we catch these fish,
Yeah.
like, don't let them
Don't
see it
scream,
splash,
yeah.
or, like, don't make a big, ruckus.
It's a real thing.
Because people just have this tendency to want to just.
Yeah, I mean, and they probably should sometimes. If a lot of times they get
they
away.
should probably never do that.
Well, I tell
actually.
you, so I fish the Mississippi River in the winter, and if you see somebody just loading it, like, all of a sudden they're all next to me. I mean, it's like, what, seagulls to bread or something? That's a good parallel. Like, literally, like, so throw some bread and all the seagulls come to the one spot. That's how fishermen are. They see somebody catch fish, and all of a sudden boats start getting closer. But this was in a more intimate setting, a smaller lake, but so yeah, you had to. I mean, if somebody saw me catch an 8 or 10 pounder on a dock, while these people are doing completely different stuff, and they're happy if they get 18 pounds or 20 pounds, and we're getting 40 plus, and so it was just such a
But
just
you guys were
unique.
fishing for a different class of fish.
Exactly. We were fishing for fish that weren't being targeted.
Right.
I mean, these guys were throwing small baits.
Yep.
These big fish were unmolested. They were,
They had become conditioned to the traditional techniques.
Conditioned is the perfect
As they
word.
have been pretty much across the country.
Yeah. So they're.
But even now, I'm telling you, some of these fish that I'm engaging with,
some of them
have
are
not
ignorant.
been conditioned.
Yeah. Different.
So,
it depends on the lake.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Every lake is different, and there's different levels of it.
Yeah.
But the opportunity still exists throughout the country and the world. Just go out there and try and figure it out.
Yeah.
I mean, we fished it. I fished a lake with Austin that you had never even heard of.
Yeah. No, I hadn't heard of this lake.
Right.
No.
And we fished a lake today that you had never fished before.
Absolutely. Because I never made
Right.
it there.
And we're talking about fishing another lake tomorrow that neither one of us have ever fished or heard of before.
Nope.
So,
yeah.
there's plenty of opportunity out there. Go out there, do the research, put in the time, take the risk, and take pride in discovering your own bites.
Absolutely. Yeah. Showing fish something they haven't seen. And these days, so many fish do see swim baits. So my unique experience was these fish hadn't seen it, and it was just like your wildest dream. I still have dreams about it where I'm just reeling in a bait, and this dumb 11 pounder comes out and just eats it at the boat, and that's how it was. And that's not reality typically.
Right.
And so it's something out of your dreams, and then that's funny because big bass dreams, but it's literally something out of your dreams where, like, did that really happen? That fish just came up and choked the bait. But these days it's harder, and I recognize that. The swim bait guys that grind, so much respect for them, because I had it easy.
Man. Yeah.
Once I discovered it.
Do you feel like your traditional, conventional fishing experiences led you to how you caught them with the swim bait?
Yeah. I mean, there was a base there dating back to what we talked about with a bluegill and a beetle spin. I mean, so I had the fundamentals early. The fundamentals.
I talk about this all the time, but especially these younger guys. Like, we talked about one of our mutual friends that we fished with last summer, and I feel like their generation is in a tough spot because so many of them, they skip a lot of conventional stuff.
They just go straight.
They're missing so much of the puzzle.
Yeah, absolutely.
So much of the puzzle.
Mm-hmm. I've seen it firsthand. There's guys that
they got all the baits.
Yep.
They got all the gear.
But are they? Yeah.
They watch all the things.
Yeah.
They don't catch all the fish.
No. The fundamentals that we grew up on, and I think that's important for everybody. Yeah, absolutely.
Totally, man. Just
But
like
so-
free throws.
Yeah, free.
Fundamentals.
Free throws, you kind of did better than me at too. So, you asked beetle spin, redfish on spinning rods at a young age.
Mhm.
So those are the fundamentals of learning how fish strike a bait.
Right, the way you
present the bait.
And
100%.
hook a fish on a beetle spin is not that different than how you're casting and presenting.
I was doing a frontal down a cypress tree, with a beetle
paddles.
spin. Or, lily paddles, absolutely.
Cypressals,
Absolutely.
all kinds of things.
And the instinct is something that sometimes you can't teach too, and a lot of you guys have it or you don't. And if you don't have it and you've taught yourself and you've learned and you still do well, I mean, props to that.
It's like hoopers, right?
Yeah.
You can tell when someone's a gamer.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that dude.
Yeah, you can just tell. Yeah.
Then you got other guys that love playing. That are good.
Yeah.
They can hold their own. But you're not going to pass them the rock for the game winner.
Yeah, they're not that.
They're not that dude.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no.
guys in fishing, there are some really special talents out there.
Oh my gosh,
I'm
so
sitting
many.
across from one.
So many. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, that's what led me to being that instinct and that I want to bring back creativity, imagination, because this hadn't been done before. And so we were, Brock, Marshall, and I, and, we were kind of daydreaming about it. Like, we knew what was possible, but it hadn't been done. So I spent so much time daydreaming, like, okay, we're going to crack open these huge
You were
limits.
visualizing it.
I was visualizing it before it happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was kind of key. And then the instinct to know how to present the lure to them. I mean, that is huge. I mean, because we've had people duplicate the pattern that we got on.
You think?
And at the good time too. I'm not going to name names. But they were not catching 40-pound limits.
Yeah.
They weren't catching as many double digits. I think they got a couple.
Right.
But a couple of them had the opportunity to really lay down bigger weights, and it was known, and these people will admit they weren't getting as many big bites, and they didn't have that instinct to present the lure in a certain way.
They might not have just had that it factor.
That it factor.
Mm-hmm.
It is a thing.
You can't deny someone's passion and love for fishing, just like you can't deny anybody that goes to play basketball at 24-hour fitness on the weekend.
Yeah.
He loves that as much as any NBA player, maybe more.
Right, yeah, but he's not an NBA player.
He ain't got it.
No, and
that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
And
because that's me in pretty much all aspects of my life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No.
Not that dude.
No. I mean, no. For me, in a lot of other aspects, I'm not that dude with the instincts to.
But you with a fishing rod, it's special, man. It's cool. It's fun to watch.
Yeah. That's where I'm in my element for sure. That's why guiding is opening up this year, because it's like I tried to avoid it for so long, and I'm like, what do I stick out in with my talent? And
you have
fishing.
A very infectious, positive energy, and you do actually want to help people that fish with you catch fish, man. It's very special, and I think that comes from the fact that you've got to experience so much awesome stuff.
Absolutely.
You've done it.
Absolutely. And
you
want to share it.
Yeah. It's a special thing, and after you go through those years of trying to validate yourself and pounding your chest, and
get your credibility,
that, right? Like, it doesn't even matter anymore.
Yeah, and we're both in the same place in that. That's what we have in common. Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's fun to watch somebody else live that for the first time. Because it brings me back.
Yeah.
And I feel like it does the same thing for you.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
I'm excited for your clients. And all the adventures you're gonna put them on, man, because that's a cheat sheet.
Yeah.
Right. You've got an incredible body of work to reference and experiences to reference.
Yeah.
That you can help really cut down that steep learning curve.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and people want to see how it's done by people that have done it, if that makes sense.
I mean, it makes sense to me. Apparently, it doesn't really matter these days to some people, but whatever.
Wait.
I'm just talking about the state of the game
overall.
Right. I'm not taking shots at any one person or whatever. It's just the nature of how fishing is now. I don't get it. Yeah. But that's okay.
Yeah. Well, no, it's fascinating, I think, for people to be like, wow, that guy's caught, a lot of big fish, but I'm just curious to how did he do it? Or there's a curiosity, like, how did Oliver catch all those big ones? Like, you know, and that's what brought a big following to you. It's like, what is he doing? How does he do it?
Totally.
He has that infectious energy, you know, and so, and I think the same goes for me. There's a mystique about it, like, where did all these big fish come from in a place where people weren't catching them? And that's what I was going to say about the other people that are fishing that lake. I mean, you know, I talked to people at the ramp on the days that we've caught at 45 pounds. Me and Brock are just like, they were in our live well, or we had released them or whatever. And they were like, and I asked them what their PB is. And I'm not trying, I'm just curious about how good this, like, I heard like 6 or 7 pounds. And we're having 45, and their whole life. These are old timers. They fished it their whole life.
Totally, man.
That's like a whole paradigm shift in what big baits were, you know, able to do. Because you're searching, like you said earlier, you're searching for a different class of fish.
Right.
And in the early days, it was easy to get them. It's harder now.
Yeah.
But you're still searching for that bigger fish, which is just so fun for so many people.
So yeah, let's roll that into this experience of a 49-pound fly fish limit.
Yeah, this is a one that this is initially when I wanted to do a video with you. I said just interview me on this one limit, and then now we're doing a 2-hour podcast. But all right, I'll tell another story time here. All right, 49-pound limit. I drove 8 hours that morning. I was in a completely different state, literally a state, over 8-hour drive early that morning. I knew the weather was right. I had just gotten on spring break once again, you know, early mid-March, and the weather had been in the 70s, and I was like, oh my gosh, the water temperature's rising. I just have this energy about me because I know.
You've been visualizing this week unfold in your head.
Because I'm living down in Florida, not in the mountains, and I'm visualizing. I'm obsessed. I mean, let's call it what it is. It was an obsession. I'm trying to do college, I'm doing school, and I'm thinking, you know, about these big limits and these big fish. And especially the weather lined up perfectly is going to be a pre-front, you know, pre-front conditions where, you know, this is classic. Like, it's been 70, 70, 70, and then there was like a tornado warning the next day. And so I was driving up, and I'm not gonna lie, I got some road rage going through some towns. I mean, I say that jokingly, like I was going through stoplights, and I was just like, oh my God, I've got to get to the lake, you know. So I'm getting there around 9 o'clock, 9:30.
In the morning or at night?
In morning,
okay.
Yeah. So this was...
so you're driving through the night.
So it was 8 hours, yeah, so yeah. So I woke up probably, I left at 3, so maybe it was a 7-hour drive, got there at 10.
Okay.
So 3 to 10, I'm on the water at 10. And so, and it's just a perfect day. There's a light wind chopped, there's, you know, beaming sundown, and I know they're gonna bite, and I just sit there, I start the engine, I go to the exact dock.
You got the plug in this time.
I got the plug in this time. I go to this special dock. I call it Magic Dock. We also called it automatic dock, which meant throw a HUD down it. It's automatic. You're going to get a big fish, 8 pounds or big. We called it automatic. Automatical with the A on it. Automatic, Magic Dock. Those were the 2 words for it. I idled straight to it. First cast. I get railed before so I cast way past the dock, and I'm bringing it. Before it gets to the dock, I get railed. And it's like, okay, what is it? How big is it? And it's like a 5.5. And this is when we talk about when he stared at an 11-pounder in disgust. This 5.5 or maybe a 6 was disgusting to me. I literally was doing this, and that's, dude. I would love a 6-pounder. Like I've been fishing the last few days. I can't get a 6-pounder right now. And I was just going like this. I shook it off, and I finally netted it, and just like, I didn't even take a picture.
You couldn't even get that thing to shake off?
No, I couldn't get it to shake off. It just, you know, and I was just repulsed because this was my lineup spot, and I thought it was going to ruin the wolf pack that might be under it. And so I got rid of her. I got the 6-pounder out. Didn't take a picture, you know. I'd shaken it. Same cast, lineup, bomb it down. And then this time it gets a little farther, and I'm bringing it through the dock. Get railed again, you know, set the hook, and it's like setting into a stump, you know it's a bigger class fish. Yep. Boom. Yep. You know that feeling, that we all know that feeling. It's unreal. And she's just bulldogging. She didn't come to the surface, and I'm like, you know, I haven't caught a fish this big in a while on this dock. I've caught 9s and 10s, but, you know, This one ends up, just bulldogging, and she comes out my netter, and she's just a balloon.
Were you by yourself this time?
By myself.
Oh, you're solo.
Yeah, I'm solo. I mean, I was just wired on a mission, solo. Yeah, my friends, I went early because of the weather. I got off because my friend Brock and Marshall couldn't come for 2 more days after the front, so they missed out. Sorry, Brock, Marshall. But, and they know. They came, and I showed them the pictures, and they were just like, are you kidding me? And then the fishing was bad after this. So, oof.
Timing.
Yeah. So she's bulldogging, and I net her. And like I said, I didn't know the size of her, but I did see that it was an abnormal girth, and she was very long. I think she was measured at 26 and a half, maybe 20, yeah. And with a girth.
It's a long fish.
Yeah, I don't know what the algorithm would say, but so I
don't trust them. They're never accurate.
Yeah.
Bass are so uniquely shaped, and it depends what they're eating.
Oh yeah. The density.
That's probably the worst fish for those formulas.
Yeah.
It really is.
The density.
I mean, it kind of gets you close.
Yeah.
You keep a scale in your boat.
Yeah.
A good one. If you guys are trophy hunting, don't do this to yourself, and don't be like people at home that I know that use it as plausible deniability.
Plausible deniability.
Oh, I didn't have a scale, but I think she's 12. Like,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, you can't.
Don't be that guy.
Yeah.
Don't be that guy. Keep a scale on the boat, because then you'll know.
Yeah.
And then when you see another freak, you'll have a base to go off of. And then when you see these fish in the water and you're like, oh, that's a 10. How do you get an eyeball scale? Actually, I got this thing called experience where I've seen them in the water and then caught them and then put them on a scale and then watched them swim away from the same distance. So,
you kind of know.
Actually got the eyeball scale.
Yeah, you got the eyeball scale. Yeah, absolutely. And you can't, you can't be claiming the exact weight with the
I got
measurement.
A teener, like,
just because of the measurement.
You don't.
It could have been an 8-pounder that was post spawn. You have no.
And this came up a couple times in just a casual discussion with him and I, but like there are people out there that I feel like have diminished the accomplishment of what a 10-pound fish is, to where they make it seem so easy that it takes away from the real feat of fooling a public water 10-pound largemouth bass anywhere in the country.
Absolutely.
And
it takes the fun out of it.
Especially when they're not actually weighing them.
Yeah.
And just holding them up and calling them something that they're not. I don't take kindly to that.
No, and it's a major trend, I guess, on the internet. But you do get.
We round down on my boat.
Yeah.
All right, you don't round up because we don't need to be those people.
Yeah, no.
I've learned to. I mean, trust me, I've felt disgusted when I've caught a 914 or 915.
That's rough. That's rough.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's a tough deal to swallow when you're still very hungry for that self-validation.
Yeah, that's true. Early on, that's when you really.
And now, man, like I've had so many wins, like I don't care.
Yeah, no,
I'm happy with those 5s and 6s now.
Yeah, no, I am too. I would like. I mean, tomorrow.
I felt like you were gonna make fun of me for getting happy over 4.5 pounders the other day.
I did kind of. Yeah, me and Oliver got into it a little bit because I was like, well, why are you so excited about that 4.5, 5-pounder? But you know what? I haven't caught a 4.5, 5-pounder.
I haven't had 4.5, 5-pounders act like that in a long time.
Yeah, it's fun.
The way I was catching them
when they're engaging.
Fun.
No, I know. And on the wide glide, eye slide,
boat side, at the rod tip,
like musky style.
Loving it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't care if they were tiny.
Yeah, I know. I gave him a little shit, but
You
I know.
that?
It's just because I was grumpy.
He got left out.
I was a little grumpy,
hey,
but no,
You got one day, you got 2.
Yeah.
We're gonna find these fish here, so make sure you guys stay tuned to the Black Rifle Coffee series that we're doing for Free Range American. It's gonna be special. Episode 2 is here in the mountains of the Appalachians.
Oh man.
Chasing big bass with big baits, and I'm
so
excited
fun
to feature you in this one, man.
Yeah.
Jeremy was a part of a very special video project we did with my man Mike Theanis back in Minnesota last late summer.
Late summer,
fall.
yeah.
It's called Bust the Bubble. It's on the Big Bass Streams channel if you guys haven't seen that yet.
Super
but highly
quality.
Cinematic, just trying to capture the visual beauty of that state.
Oof.
And this
Did it
man
well.
doing work, out of the red sleigh.
The red sleigh.
But this time we've got all the tools at our disposal in a very special part of the country, trying to get close to these
Exactly, and that's why it's fun to tell these stories in the neighborhood of this area.
For sure, we're here where it happened, and we went a little bit off tangent here, but we just left off. You just caught this monster fish, 26.5 inches, abnormal girth.
Abnormal girth.
Right. And did you weigh her right then and there, or did
did.
Oh, you did.
I weighed her right then and there, and with my digital camera. So back then I had a tripod, Canon digital thing, and I was able to, at that time they got real fancy, we were able to flip it so you could see what you were videoing or taking pictures of, and so I got her on scale, and I weighed her, and it was 13.6. 13.6, and I was thinking, like 11, and this fish overweight, but I saw her girth, and I saw 26 inches, 26 and a half. And so then I put her in the live well, and then I was like, well, I've got to get this like on camera, for the what we just talked about. Like, I can't just call it a 13.6 and people are gonna have doubts.
Someone's got to be that dude to call BS.
Exactly. If I claimed a 13.6 on this particular lake in the mountains, that's that's the upper tier size. They get up maybe to 14. I think the lake record that is about the lake record. The unofficial, it's around 13.6. Somebody else caught a 13, high 13, and maybe some of you guys can correct me, but I believe it's a high 13.
Wow.
And so this was near state record, so I couldn't just sit there and trust. So we'll include the picture in this video, but I have the picture holding her on the scale, and it's it's sitting on 13.6. I wish I had a video of it, but it's enough validation.
It's a giant fish.
It's just, she was huge, and you can see the pictures. We'll show. But I called Brock. I called my dad, and I was like, I just caught a 13.6. But then I hung up with him immediately because I was thinking, obviously it was on. If I caught a 13, and it's such an easy pattern, docks. And when you have a bunch of docks, it's like, well, hit as many docks, power fish them, and see what happens. So I go to the other side of the channel and continue the search. So that dock was spent, because I kind of spooked him a little bit. I was gonna, cycle back. Went over to some other good docks I knew of. It was a floating dock, kind of, out. I made a bad cast, as we were talking about earlier. My Huddleston veered off to the left, but I still fished it. I was like, all right, well, whatever. This fish had to have come out of the floating dock probably 15, 17 feet, and all of a sudden I just get choked. You were thinking
it's like, what?
Yeah, no. So it just chokes it. I'm like, they're that okay. It's that day. It's an 8-pounder. 8-pounder. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna put together. I'm going for my biggest limit. I knew today was the day.
You already ditched a 5-6 pounder. You didn't even put that.
Oh no, I didn't. Oh, a 5-6 pounder was. It's 8s or above at this point.
Okay, so you just put this thing in the well.
So an 8-pounder on a bad cast, away that veered off, and so then there's this really big double-decker dock, really good wooden planks, and at this point, I'm just in a zone. I'm just like, every cast could be a 13, it could be a 12. Of course I wasn't literally thinking a 13.6 every cast, but I was thinking a good cast on good docks, you're gonna get bit. Even a bad cast was getting bit. So this one was a big kind of stud dock with a lot of pilings, and so I kind of had a feeling there's a rock wall. I threw it up to the rock wall on a sidle, as we've learned the lingo, and I'm going down the side of the dock. By the time it gets to the very end of the dock, one of the most vicious hits I've ever had on Huddleston, just hammered it, and I set the hook, and I literally thought I had the dock. Like, it was really close to the dock. And for a second, I was like, did I just get hung? Was I delusional? And then my line just starts going like this. And mind you, I'm fishing the extra heavy 8-foot Akuma Guide Select.
It's a proper rod. I caught a lot of fish on that rod.
And this fish felt heavier and acted bigger than the 13.6. And she comes flying out of the water. And so, of course, if I had all this on Cast to Catch, this would be legendary stuff this whole day. But of course, back then I was not thinking of filming video. It was just
a lot harder to do. Anyway.
It was hard. I mean, with this Sony little camera.
Oh my gosh, it was so hard.
Yeah, I was just thinking pictures, and at that point I wasn't, I didn't know Instagram or YouTube or anything like that. But anyway, so she comes up, jumping, blah blah blah. Huge fish, get her in the net, 11.9. So 11.9, 13.6, and like a low 8. And so I get into focus mode. I mean, that's the highlight of the first 3 fish. I in my memory, I know good docks, so I'm kind of panicking at this point because there's so many docks, and I'm like, my decisions are important right now. There's this window of time, because I know they shut off in the afternoon. There's this window of time I want to hit the best docks. And I think I did the best I could. I mean, I got 49 pounds, but I still think about this. If I had made different docks, I could have had 53 pounds, or, because they were big fish and they were just wide open window. So, yeah, so I'd have to go back and look. I should be prepared for that, but I can go back on cowfishing.com. This is all written out in a post. Rob Bellany will know. He's seen it. But I got a 9.8, and then another, it was probably an upper 7. I have to do the math. Maybe another 8, and then you do the math, and it was 48.9, 49.3, somewhere in there, in that territory. The fish did shut off around 3 p.m. The Clouds game, and they just stopped. And I recycled back to the 13.6 dock, and I caught a couple 6s, which
didn't help you.
Dude, I mean, I was literally shaking off stuff. Me and Oliver were laughing about this,
I wish I could be there right now.
Dude, I mean, if only this had all been on film and the shaking. But, so you're going to see pictures of this day, and...
You got a 13 on here, don't you? I mean, is this from that day?
That one didn't make the limit. This was like an 8-9 or something. Yeah, that's the 11.9 right there, and that's that stud dock. She bit on the end of that piling.
My gosh.
And that fit. You can see how tall she is. This is not a GoPro. This is a Canon.
Yeah. That frame.
The frame, and she was dense.
And she's immaculate. Look at her.
Oh, what a beautiful.
She probably had not been caught in a long time.
Oh gosh, she hadn't even been targeted. These people were throwing the wrong bait. And then she saw that trout lure and was like, woof.
That's wild, man.
Yeah, that's the same day too. Another giant. That might be a high 7 or a low 8.
Special days.
And that's the 13.6. You can see, and that's not a GoPro. Remember, that's just that fish or that camera will make small fish look small. It doesn't, that thing is wild. Yeah, that's still my PB to this day as far as a digital scale. We were talking about being valid. I had a spring scale, which you said,
depends which one which one it was, man. There's some accurate spring.
But I don't want to claim. I would say it was a 14, but I would call this my PB because I have a picture of it on a digital scale. So
cool.
What a day! And then this huge front came in, and but we talk about windows for big fish. This was the ultimate window. I mean, just look at those last couple fish.
Yeah.
I mean, a 13.6, those fish, an 11.9, all in a span of like an hour. And that's why I was literally, I was like, what docks do I need it? Because there were some dead docks, that just don't hold fish.
Oh, for sure.
And you can waste time on it. And so I just, instinctively knew I wanted to hit the best honey hole possible where the biggest fish were going to be biting. At that point, it could have been any dock for all I knew, but I wanted to just capitalize on the window. And everybody knows about those big fish windows. They can come in really short bursts where you have that opportunity. And this, Brock Marshall, remember this, the next day and the next day after, we did terrible. I mean, we barely, we might have caught one hud fish.
So the point that you guys should be taking from that is it's not the location alone.
Yeah.
It's not the lure.
Yep.
Alone.
No.
It's not even the anglers that are doing it.
Yeah.
It's an ever-changing puzzle.
Yeah.
That's what makes it fascinating to me.
Absolutely.
Because how can you go out there one day, smack 49 pounds, think that you put something together, your boys are coming into town,
my boys
off
are coming.
of your energy,
and
we are going to hammer them.
I think we scoffed the next day.
And then that happens. Right? Fishing is the most humbling activity I've ever been a part of.
Yeah, thanks for listening. That's a story I've always wanted to talk about. 49 pounds is special.
That's cool, man.
Yeah,
that's cool. knowingly, probably at this point, influenced a lot of people to chase their own big fish dreams.
Yeah.
Especially in this part of the country.
Yeah. Oh.
Right.
This part of the country got fired up after that
As
stuff.
they should have been.
Yeah.
So I hope you feel good about your influence on the sport here, especially in a region.
Yeah.
That's special, man.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And
That's
I know,
really special.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people have been just inspired and invigorated and just super stoked to go throw these big baits, and they had to see somebody do it first.
Right.
Once you see that first person, now I've done that. I've done it where that person's throwing that, and I'll copy. So, I feel special. I feel I feel privileged, or I feel lucky to have been the first one to do it. And I acknowledge how unique and special that was. And then,
but kudos to you for taking the risk.
Yeah,
and actually going on a limb and buying these crazy big lures
and daydreaming about something that you don't know is going to work.
And you had to have gotten flack for someone from just a casual observer or other fishermen or boat, or dock owners going, "What are you doing?"
No, we did have that a lot. Actually, yeah.
Because I see that break people down to where like that shames them into like going back to just
they go back to conventional now.
You let that person that has no clue influence the way you're gonna live your life. Like, okay.
So I grew up in a St. John's Bass Anglers, a club where I got shamed for throwing spinner baits, and they called them hubcaps. And so this bass club threw only trick worms. And this is just a funny story. Brock Marshall, St. John's Bass Anglers.
Shout out to all the old school bass
You
players,
guys are awesome. Y'all killed it.
But he's going to throw y'all under the bus right now.
But I was shamed for throwing spinner baits and big long A jerk baits.
For sure.
Because trick worm, is finesse, and that's all the bass club used.
Oh, and my bass club was really similar. California Bass Contenders. Shout out to all the OGs. But I used to have dudes yelling at me because I'm throwing a 10.5-inch swim bait, and they're telling me I'm scaring their fish.
That's funny.
The nerve.
Yeah, they're
after I showed them a 110 bite and a secondary point Carolina on a spinning rod bite. I literally showed them my working patterns on this.
Yeah.
Thing. And I'm already on my limits. I don't know what you're waiting on, bro. And then I'm trying to upgrade.
Yeah. You're
I'm
scaring
getting
my
told
fish.
that I'm scaring old dude's fish.
Yeah. No, I mean they would say that about my spinner bait. I mean, come on. It's a spinner bait. But so needless to say, when you're throwing the big bait, I did have a lot of dock owners, and which was funny is that the dock owners would make comments, and we have 45 pounds in the live well.
Right.
And we didn't say a word. I mean, I was so secretive. Now talk about we inspired a region. In the beginning, I was so secretive. I would not tell a soul, not even a dock owner, not even a casual, you know. And so because I was, I wanted to capitalize on this window of time, until about 2011 is when the cat got out of the bag. 2011 was the period. But the 2005 to 2010.
What a special run.
What a run. Yeah, absolutely. And I wasn't even living in the region. That's the thing.
So, when it's all said and done, Jeremy, when your fishing career comes to an end for whatever reason, right?
Probably death.
That's probably what it's going to be for me, hopefully as well, right? What do you want your legacy to be, man? Like,
well, yeah, great.
What do you want people to remember you for?
Just natural love and instinct and passion for fishing, no matter what. If it's bluegill on beetle spins, redfish, intercoastal,
and going back to some of our experiences last summer, when I would tell this dude, like, if I find these schools of bluegill, we're switching gears.
We're dropping our bass
And he's
gear.
like, what? No, we're not doing that,
That day, I had driven 3 hours, and I was thinking 6-pound bass.
Which, for where we were, are big bass.
Minnesota.
And I think I caught a couple in the high 4s, low 5s.
Yeah, the day before. Or that day, too.
Yeah, that day, too. So that was already driving him crazy.
I just wanted...
And then the bluegill just started, like, amassing under the live scope. And I was like, nope, gotta switch gears.
At first, I was resistant.
You were.
And then I had one of the funnest days.
Dude, we had a blast.
Yeah.
We just started wrecking
Yeah.
bluegill.
It's
And,
fun.
man, those bluegill up there in Minnesota are different.
Mm-hmm.
They got sharp little teeth.
North American piranhas.
Dude, they are savage little bastards. They're different than our Southern California panfish. They're different than anywhere else I've fished from. They're crazy up there.
Yeah, they gotta be all this pike and muskie swimming around.
Right, and they're like on the top of the food list, like at the bottom of the chain there. So they gotta be badasses.
They're beasts, yeah.
But yeah, I've seen that passion firsthand, and you do it because you love it, man.
Yeah.
And stay true to that.
Yeah.
I'll continue to enjoy fishing with you and playing basketball with you.
And as far as legacy, but then I will say that this is my claim to fame was the big bait.
Yeah.
Early on in the East Coast.
Cool.
That's my little claim to fame, and that's something that I really feel lucky about and grateful for. I'm just grateful that I was able to experience something that I don't think I ever will. Something you daydream about and then it comes to fruition.
Right.
It's just something. It's just magical. We felt like we were literally dreaming. Not to be cheesy, we thought we were. We looked around after catching. We're just like, is this really happening?
Someone should put together something with this whole dreaming thing.
Yeah, the dreaming thing. You did a pretty good job with the Big Bass Streams. After this, all this dreaming happened, and then this guy, Big Bass Streams. I'm like,
I was living really similar experiences as well. So that's where it came from.
Spot on.
I felt like this is a dream come true.
Exactly.
Of big bass.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's how I felt.
I honestly didn't even dream of the sequences that were coming to reality.
Exactly.
That's why it was mind blowing to me.
Absolutely.
I was like, man, this is wild.
Yeah.
This is so wild.
No, exactly. So it did feel like a dream, and it was. And one last thing though, it doesn't end now. Even though we talk about peaking, I still have that dreaming mentality, that daydreaming. Can I get a 40-pound limit again? That's gonna be a great quest, like a challenge.
You guys want to know what we've been talking about the last couple of days? Like, where do we need to go to put ourselves in a position to catch a teener?
Yeah. What can we do on public water? Like
That's a real conversation right now in 2021.
Now that things are changed, everybody's throwing big baits and different things. Yeah. Pressured fish because of COVID. That's actually a huge added challenge.
We were on a school of spotted bass, busting blueback herring.
Pressured.
And we got 2 short bites.
Yeah.
We didn't even catch a bass today.
Yeah, and we heard that there have been tons of tournaments since COVID and just tons of added fishing pressure on every lake around the country.
Yeah. I mean, we're sitting here scratching our heads like, how are the pros struggling on Smith Lake right now?
Yeah.
Not even catching limits. And we went out there today on actively feeding spotted bass.
I mean, it's
and didn't catch one.
Yeah.
We didn't catch a little one.
Humbled. I'm talking about 49-pound limits, and I can't get a 12-inch spotted bass. The spectrum.
Oh, the mighty have fallen.
No.
Man.
But so then that's what keeps fishing special is you want to get back to the top of the hill again. And
well,
I mean,
if someone like a Rick Klein has proven, if a KVD has proven it,
longevity.
That longevity is potentially there, and you can still be a hammer years and years down the line. I was telling Jeremy, I was actually fishing next to Guy Eaker at the Open. And mind you, I didn't really have that much exposure to like a Guy Eaker, but because I was such a fishing nerd, I'd see like the Eaker jig and like the Bass Pro Shops catalog or something. Like, oh, it's named after that guy.
Yeah.
And he's fishing in his yellow wrap Bojangles, which I never heard of.
Bojangles.
What was it? It was I forgot.
Chicken biscuits, famous biscuits.
Yeah, I think he was fishing a Camus bass boat.
Okay.
And he was fishing one of my areas. I saw him in practice. Didn't realize who he was until.
Now you want Bojangles, yeah.
Man, now I gotta hit the old Bojangles here in the Appalachians.
Yeah.
But I honestly watched this 80-year-old man.
He's 80.
Shirt tucked in proper, right?
Beast.
Has been doing it since I was a little kid, and before that, I'm sure. Bro, I watched him wax like 4 keepers. And just doing the damn thing, bro.
80 years old.
I sat there in awe.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that's a bad dude, right?
That is.
That's cool.
That is really cool.
Because I could have used those 4 fish.
Unreal.
But, I mean, it was just rad, man, to see people that have just as much passion as you and I.
Absolutely.
Still be able to do it at that age. Like Roland is going to be 81 this year. I watched him jump off of the bow of my Vexus onto land.
Just like he's...
And like
maybe
bro,
fishing
what are you
keeps
doing?
you young.
Like, oh my gosh. So there's hope for you and I yet, man.
Yeah, we still, absolutely.
I think your chapters of your book
just starting.
that I hope you write one day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are definitely far from over, man.
Yeah,
so,
well, I appreciate it, yeah.
Right back at you. So, cheers to Jeremy Pratt.
Thank you for having me, brother.
It's been a great second part here to this podcast, episode 12 and 13 with Jeremy Pratt himself. Stay tuned. Hopefully you guys are going to see the culmination of our exploits here in this region, where a lot of that went down through our Black Rifle Coffee series, through Free Range American. Hopefully we find what we're looking for.
Yeah, no, and
I feel good. I feel good about our odds.
It's
man.
just so fresh, the new challenge.
Yeah.
I'm just as excited as I was as a kid going out. You know, with my dad,
you are.
The Beatles band.
So much he's just leaving rods all over my
Oh
deck.
yeah, no, I mean Oliver sees it too much.
Like, bro, focus.
This morning, I'm sitting here getting Riley and Oliver all antsy and anxious because I'm ready to hit the water because it's just become daylight. They're like, "Can we have some breakfast
that
first?"
That breakfast wrap was worth it, though.
No, it was worth the wait, and we didn't catch a lot of fish anyway.
It was the best bite I had all morning.
But no, that engine, that passion, like right now,
your motor is real.
And
man.
the more the challenge, the more I'm wanting. Like,
totally.
The
you
fact
take
that
it personal.
I am that. Wow, that's a great way to end it. Is I'm taking it personal. I've had a rough couple days, and I'm sitting here talking about my best day of a 49-pound limit. But that doesn't mean anything. I'm not living in the past. I can't get bit today. So what do I need to do for tomorrow?
That's the beauty of it.
And that's what keeps you going. It's the pursuit, you know. So yeah, absolutely.
Beautiful. So make sure you guys contact Jeremy. Do you want them to email you? Do you
absolutely.
Yeah, that's probably the best way.
JeremyPrattFishing@gmail.com. So pretty simple. Literally, Jeremy Pratt Fishing.
Yeah, if you guys want to join the adventure with this man and chase your own big bass streams, this dude has got it. I'm telling you right now. Follow him on Instagram, obviously. Also, subscribe to his YouTube channel. He's gonna flip the script on me on the next one.
I'm excited about that because there's still some things I don't know about Oliver, and some probably other viewers don't know.
You know about this jumper.
So if it doesn't rain tomorrow, I'm gonna humble this man. Next podcast you're gonna see, I'm gonna be the one talking smack.
You know why he's saying that? Because it's like 90% chance of rain.
Well, we're going fishing tomorrow afternoon, and that's why. The next day that we have, I mean, before the next podcast, I'm going to beat you.
Okay.
We'll check in about that.
Cool. Aim high, dream big, baby.
A lot of our viewers don't even play basketball, probably.
You know what, though?
They're tuning out right now.
A lot of them do.
Okay, well, the ones that do.
Fishing reaches all demographics. It
Yeah.
really does.
No, and I love that.
You know how many people have been reaching out to me about b-boying? And I never even b-boyed because I was never strong enough.
Wait, I don't even know what that is.
Breakdancing.
Oh, breakdancing.
You know, like that whole hip-hop culture.
You don't want to say, I'd break a leg. With a leg.
Yeah, after I did that stuff with Ike and Nelly, like all kinds of people hit me up, like thinking I'm a b-boy. I'm like, bro, I was not that gifted at all.
You're
not
just
even
associated
close.
with Ike and Nelly for a second.
Yeah, for sure. So, anyways,
it reaches all. Yeah, I like that, the versatility. It's not just one thing.
Look, fishing doesn't belong to any one group of people.
Yeah,
it transcends regions. It transcends countries.
Brings people together.
Generations. This is a very primal activity.
Primal is a great word for it.
That feeling that you get when you feel a tug on the end of a line.
Oof.
For generations.
Oof.
Up until the last couple meant that you were going to eat that day.
Yeah.
What greater high was there than that?
I mean, it's proven like dopamine, so the pleasure center of the brain. When you catch fish, you get a rush. You get that high. I think that if we want to break it down scientifically, that's why we're all addicted to fishing, guys.
That's a big part of it. So
one of the many parts, yeah.
Appreciate you guys tuning in here.
Thanks again for having me.
Yeah, for sure, man. This is the Big Bass Dreams podcast, episode 13. I'm Oliver Nye.
Jeremy Pratt.
Don't forget that name. We're out.
Bye, guys. Sweet. Thanks,
fun.
Riley. That's fun. It's all. I mean, even if it didn't come out, it's fun talking to you.
Dude, it's always.
You a keyboard player. My man, that's hella lame. I drag piss. Itch to make you catch fish, get him in the net quick, cash for another stick. That real deal, raw uncut, still chasing PBs cause it's never enough. I drag piss. Itch to make you catch fish, get him in the net quick, cash for another stick. That real deal, raw uncut, still chasing PBs cause it's never enough.
Medium light, graphite for the subtlest bites. Some bright blue skies, not a cloud in sight. It's dynamite when I drop, and the school ignites, pinning them down on the